If you've been waiting for a mechanical, travel-focused dive watch from Seiko, the SPB381 and its siblings offer a modern take on a really flexible and useful platform. It's a full-featured and easy-wearing everyday dive watch that will keep you on time for your international phone calls and keep you daydreaming for your next vacation. Who knows? Maybe it's time to get certified and try your hand at a little diving. Hey, it's me, James Stacey, and I'm back with another dive watch, but this one has a little twist. It's a dive GMT from Seiko's Prospex line, and it's the mean green SPB381. Seiko dive watches come in all shapes and sizes, and when it comes to this one specifically, it's part of their heritage lineup, and it connects to a model that they made in the late 60s called the 6159-7000. It's a high beat diver, and it's a bit of a collectible icon today. Speaking of today, we have the new SPB381. It has Marine Master derived good looks and also packs a dive bezel and an additional time zone, which makes it an ideal companion for keeping track of friends and family in far-flung locations, or maybe even just going on a vacation yourself, be it to the beach or maybe even on a dive boat. From a spec standpoint, the SPB381 is 42 millimeters wide, 13.3 millimeters thick, and 48.1 millimeters lug to lug. Both the case and the bracelet are made of steel and feature Seiko's super hard coating. You get 200 meters of water resistance, drilled 20 millimeter lugs, a sapphire crystal, a solid steel case back, and in this case you actually get a ceramic bezel insert in green, which isn't that common for Seiko. To match that green bezel, the SPB381 has a green dial with a gold GMT hand, but there are two further versions of this watch, a black dial version called the SPB383 and a light blue limited edition version in the SPB385. Inside this dive watch, we find Seiko's 6R54 movement. In terms of the GMT functionality, the 6R54 offers an independently adjustable 24-hour hand, which is otherwise commonly known as a collar GMT. This is because it's pretty handy for tracking another time zone that you're not actively in, such as for phone calls with a colleague or something like that. But otherwise, if you travel, you'll need to reset the entire watch for a new time zone. While I tend to travel a lot and would probably prefer a flyer-style GMT functionality for a watch such as this, the collar format is way more accessible for the average person who doesn't travel as much and just needs to track another time zone from home. And that's probably the core audience for a watch like this. Size for my 7-inch wrist, the SPB381 GMT feels chunky, very substantial, but not oversized. It also sits nice and low, thanks to the curvature of the case, and I found it to be quite comfortable, even for extended wear. The solid steel bracelet feels really good, it's nicely made. I will note that it uses a pin and collar style construction, so sizing is a little bit more finicky than we've gotten used to with single-sided screws. That said, it tapers by 2 millimeters by the time you get to the fold-over safety clasp, and the clasp has a little bit of micro adjust, I think 4 points. For my wrist, the weight is more noticeable than the width or the thickness, and the lug-to-lug really helps balance it all out. That said, I commonly wear a titanium dive watch and usually on a NATO, so I might be a little bit more sensitive to weight than others. The truth of the matter is the SPB381 comes in at 165 grams, which is right in the same zone as something like an SKX007 and most other steel Seiko sports watches on bracelets. Being a Seiko dive watch, legibility is excellent, as is the lume, and the bezel's pretty good. It's a little muted, a little vague due to the kind of light click, but accuracy is good and the grip is also nothing to complain about. The insert's excellent, really easy to read, and it has a luminous pip, and the whole kind of vibe of having a ceramic insert on a Seiko dive watch is a little bit of a mind melt, because you look at something like an older school design like the SPB143, which has a steel bezel. It's an entirely different proposition to have the ceramic. It's a little bit shinier, a little bit more modern, and I think it kind of elevates the whole experience on wrist. All told, the SPB381 and its siblings offer a compelling mix of Seiko's design language, great specs, solid proportions, and the versatility of a dive GMT. At $1,500 for either the black or the green version, it's a continued push from Prospex into the over $1,000 category, but the price is not out of line with the experience you get from this watch. In my mind, the ideal buyer for something like the SPB381 would be someone who really appreciates the Seiko design language, especially where it hits things like the Marine Master or the Grand Seiko divers, but wants to get that vibe at a lesser price point without sacrificing functionality. Sure, you don't have maybe the incredible finishing and the super high-end movement of a Grand Seiko, but you do have a lot of the appeal in this package, and it's one that's still a great dive watch and can absolutely travel when you're ready to leave home. What I especially like about the SPB381 and its siblings is that Seiko opted to make it a diver with a GMT function instead of the other way around. So you get the great bezel and you get the 200 meters of water resistance and everything else that you need from a dive watch. And then they've added in the travel functionality. It's a best of both worlds approach that allows you to have the dive watch and the travel watch in one platform. And if what you want is something that's a great multi-role watch that works just as well in the office as it does on the beach or on a dive boat, this is a great option.